Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'll be talking to singer-songwriter, rapper, director, Australian-born Korean artist, DPR Ian. Let's go.
Smoking on piff, that's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
Oh man,
DPR Ian, yeah.
That feels
I was
weird,
like, let's have him on. If he'll do it, and then I'm glad it worked out.
100%. Thanks for having me, man. It's like I said, it's quite crazy.
That's sick.
Seeing this, wow.
Well, you're from Sydney.
From Sydney,
which is Australia. Like for 20 some years has always been like a home away from home for me.
Oh, really?
I spent a lot of time in Australia, so I have like a good relationship with Australia.
Oh, wow. You just go to Sydney, or is that?
I mean, I've been all over because Good Charlotte, we used to tour quite big there.
Right, yeah.
And I think we're going to go back like next year or something and do some kind of like, like return.
Oh, for real?
Because it's been so long.
Just can you tell me the dates, fella?
I will.
That'll be so cool.
Yeah, they'll be good.
Amazing.
So I have a real soft spot for Aussies.
Sick. Oh, I love
it's such a good culture to me.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you say that, man. Because I haven't been back in Australia for a while. I think the last time I went was about 2 years ago, but was just for tour and stuff. But it's there's no place other like Australia, So
there's no place like it.
Yeah.
It's a funny place. It's got its personality, but I have a real soft spot for Australia, and it's a place that I'll always feel like connected to. What
do you like about it? Can I mind me asking? Is it just because I know the weather out here is kind of quite similar to Australia, isn't it?
The weather in LA is similar.
Yeah.
I'm from a small town.
Okay.
And I feel like it was the first big international place I'd ever been to. In 2000 I went, and it was my first trip abroad.
Oh wow.
And it was for music.
Yeah.
So on one hand, our band, it was the first place we were ever like big.
Oh yes.
And so on our first record, it popped off in Australia first.
Right.
And so there's like something about that I think meant something to me.
Yeah.
So it was the first place I had initiated or experienced success in my mind,
Oh yeah.
Like the radio was playing our song.
Oh yeah. No, I remember.
And then everyone was really like
the energy,
welcoming.
Oh yes.
They celebrated it.
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
In America, our first experience was good, but it was a lot tougher. It was a time in music where everything was genrefied.
I see.
And so you were here and you were put in this box and everyone's arguing if you're this or you're that.
Oh yeah. I could. Oh yeah. Right. I completely understand where you're coming from, actually. Yeah, because I remember, because I was definitely one of them, listening to you guys out there. So
that's cool.
I still remember you guys were everywhere, and I was like, I was still in school, and honestly, where I come from a place called Wollongong.
Yeah, Wollongong.
Yeah,
I know Wollongong.
I'm sure you do. And the scene was huge there. The scene of rock and everything was quite big. So I was always a fan of rock, and I was into all types of stuff because I went to a performing arts school, So
that's cool.
I started off with a little local band myself,
Yeah, you were in like a metal band.
Yeah, or like a full metalcore band,
Sick.
Yeah, I went to hardcore metal and stuff like that.
What was your favorite metal coming up or even now?
So it was definitely hardcore. Like it went from punk to hardcore metal, and like I love that whole screamer shit, but
just heavy shit.
Just mad heavy shit.
Yeah, the heavier breakdowns the better.
Yeah, for some reason it progresses more heavily, right? Like once you start getting into, because in the beginning I loved alternative, and then it started progressively getting heavier and heavier, and then it went to like grind metal for 1 second. I just like had to step back a bit because everyone was just pig squealing, and that was about it. But no, it was a good time. It was a good fun time. Love supporting our local artists, and I kind of do miss those times a lot,
But it's interesting because something about your music now, it feels like the early love of like heavy, dark music, informed something about your art.
Oh wow, yeah.
Now, like the imagery, the feeling. It's quite like cinematic.
Oh yes, yeah.
There's a deep, dark, heavy
essence
core to it.
Yeah.
That you kind of like, which I actually think, and the way
it's
you
really cool.
present things, even just like down to whether it's how you're dressed or what you have on stage or like, there's something that feels like heavy.
Yes. Okay.
And I wonder if the early love of like heavy music, because heavy music does like touch us.
But yeah.
It's like something inside of us, that heavy music.
It doesn't leave you.
My favorite bands, Architects.
Oh, the Architects. Oh, yes.
Bad Omens.
Oh.
Bring Me. You know, there's a bunch of bands that I love that when I listen, it really like comforts this like deep.
Right. It satisfies something.
It's like this deep pain or something that there's something from that early formation of your like interest in music.
Yes.
And the journey you go on as an artist.
Yeah.
You should like lots of different things.
Oh, yes.
You have to go on that.
Yeah.
But I feel it in your music now. I feel there is like a heaviness to it.
Interesting.
And it makes its way out in different ways, whether it's imagery or like the structure of something or the sounds you use. I think there's like something super metal about you.
Wow. Well, you're the first person to say that to me, and you're spot on, man. You're spot on. That's crazy. I love how that you picked that out. You're absolutely right. I've had a dying passion and love for just heavy music, you know, because like you said, there's something about it that really satisfies something inside of you. Especially, I think, you know, going to my earlier teen years. You know, I was the only Asian in growing up, you know, so for me, it was really wanting to belong, but you know, I was just plopped into the scene, to the music scene, and the only way I could ever really kind of find some type of relevance or relation to anyone was through music. And you know, at that time, it was just peak, like just metalcore music, and it was just going off, and you know, so I was just kind of. I mean, fortunately enough, I was just plopped into the scene, but it felt different, especially going to my first show, just watching because we had a youth center that played local bands every like Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, DIY shows.
Yeah, man. And the stuff that they come up with, oh my God. I remember just going in and just immediately the air's just freaking thick and it's just, you know, sweaty and smelly because they had a pit and, you know, it was just, but I still remember feeling the energy from that and I've just never wanted to stop going back, you know, because it was something that I was like, wow.
I can feel
relieving.
that.
Yeah.
I can feel that in your music now.
That's so interesting. And
isn't it funny?
Yeah, that is crazy that you point that out, man. It's insane.
I wonder what part being different from everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? However that's perceived in like, you know, if you're the only Asian kid, right? If that's the point of difference in that situation. But we are all different from each other. Yeah. When our difference is pointed out, right? When we're in a group of people and we're completely different from them. Right. Maybe it's culturally.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that great artists and people that are successful at making art and putting it in the world and becoming these characters that lived only in our thoughts.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, we look at our heroes, whatever they are. Maybe they're actually comic book heroes. Maybe they're rock stars. Maybe they're sports stars. As kids, we're kind of taught to get in line.
Yeah, that's right.
And stay in the group and don't disrupt the group.
Yeah, don't rebel.
And we look at our heroes and we start to imagine like, what would I be?
Yeah.
What would my superpower be? What would my music sound like?
You're right.
And when we're allowed to do that, and we try, that's how we make it.
That's exactly
try again.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's supportive parents, or sometimes it's that we're alone.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. I think it's quite interesting that you say it's if now, you know, it's also maybe that we're alone. I think for one, I definitely had supportive parents. Very fortunate enough for that.
That's great.
And like you said, I think it does come from core imagination because in the beginning, for me, it was just really about how do I fit in? And then it progressively went to where do I see myself in this scene? Because I don't, at that time, especially, I don't see any representative that kind of looks like me that's doing this, you know, not to my knowledge anyway. So I just kind of never really saw that side of like someone to idolize and, you know, so everyone that I idolized were like people that were just already huge and, you know, from the States, from Western cultures. And I loved that. And it was such a interesting moment for me because I never really second guessed it or thought of it in a way where my ethnicity was something that was going to be something that might downplay a certain, you know, part in doing this music scene, just because I've never seen that before, you know. But I think as my imagination grew, it kind of grew into excitement. And in the beginning, it's hard telling your Asian mom, like, oh, you know, I want to do like screamo,
or any mom, to be honest.
Anything, you know. I still remember I was playing like some heavy stuff for my mom in the beginning. She's like, so what the heck is this? You know? I mean, granted, but you know, it was a good moment when she finally understood and she wanted to support me, you know, just doing whatever I wanted to do. So I think that is kind of what led me to, I think, further grow out my imagination of like wanting to do something. I don't even know if it was related to music at the time, honestly, because it was just something that I needed to express. Like I needed to just get out there.
It's a calling.
Yeah, a calling. Yeah, you know, it just felt right. You know, everything aligns, and you know, it just feels like you just have to. Your gut feeling tells you to go here, and it just felt so weird. But at that time, you don't really think of it. Like you're just really in the moment.
Well, yeah, and especially at that age, everything else is telling you no.
Exactly.
So to follow a calling and a feeling at an age when everything else in life is telling you, do this, go to school, go to college, this is what success looks like, to break out of
the system.
It's...
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you guys were all about that too, eh? So I was like, that's why I really loved it, you know? I love the messages that especially rock kind of portrays. You know, granted, I feel like punk was definitely something that kind of was like rebellious against order and all that, you know. But I think that's why I had a certain love for heavy and hardcore music, because it kind of went against the society, against the norms, and you know the stuff they talk about as well. It's really it gets political at one point, but
sometimes
it gets like that. But I kind of see it. I kind of understand why, because it's a system that they want to rebel against, and they want to be independent, have a free mind, free thinking. So I think that's why it kind of related so much to the core to a lot of high school kids, especially in Australia, because you know Australia is very open, very like free-minded. People are so nice, you know. People are so nice and kind that it's very just it's a very supportive community, you know.
On one hand.
And then
there's another side to every coin, right?
Of course there is.
And there's old systems, old ideas, old ways.
Oh boy.
And those two things clash. I actually like that about Australia is that there is a clash.
Yeah.
There's going to always be a new way and a new idea. And people trying to reach for new. And there's going to be old. And that's it's a story as old as time.
Right.
Those in power who have been in power a long time. Those new ideas and thinkers. It's not bad for society, but it can cause... Well, it's a lot to talk about.
Yes,
so people are always arguing about the issues. But that's why artists make art.
Yeah, that's correct. I think something that I read somewhere, something that somebody said was like, artists are meant to defy reality. You know? So that's what they're here for. And I get it, because it's like you're manifesting your own reality to the world and how you see it, because you see it differently. And everyone, because everyone sees it so differently, I think that's what makes it unique. It's just how much are you willing to not apologize for it, you know? And I think that's what was really, I guess I succumbed to that type of character, which it was like, as you mentioned, it was the idea of bringing characters to life. And I think that's where I really got a lot of inspiration, because it's like you can be anything in this world, still be you, but you know, at the same time, it could hit a different market, it could hit a different crowd, and honestly, it does shed a lot of your experiences through that ideation of the character, and that's what I think I really loved about forming this type of, I guess, character into this music, into my artistry. You know, especially because when I went to Korea, that was a bit of a different story.
Yeah, what was that like?
My God.
Because was it your first time ever going?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, it was just a sudden decision I decided to make, just because I'm Korean and I just didn't know anything about my culture. And, You know, because I was brought up in a full like Western community, and I didn't know anything about my culture. So after uni, I was like, you know what, I want to pack my bags and go to Korea. My mom gave me like a 3 months period. I was like, you just got coming back. I'm gonna whoop your ass. I'm like, okay. So I was like, all right. So
it was another calling.
It's another calling. Exactly. That's crazy that you say that. It felt like that for me, you know. I didn't know anything. I didn't plan anything. I just, you know, picked my bags up, just went because I thought it was just what I was meant to do, you know. I went, and the first month in Korea, I was just, I got scammed, and I was living out on the streets, bro. And I was like, that was my first taste of reality, because Korea is, like you said, it's the other flip side of the coin from Australia.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely cutthroat. Like, it just it's more than a dog eats dog world. It's like it's a very like judgmental society, but it's a very unified society. So if one person does like one thing that kind of sticks out, it's more shunned upon than viewed as like unique, you know?
By the mass.
Right. Because again, in Korea, it's not multicultural, it's just all Korean. So, you know, and if you put in that to account, it's really hard for you to stand out and kind of follow through with that idea without getting it like completely shut down
over time,
over the period of time. And you know, me being from Australia, I don't know none of that, so to them, it might have been like very intimidating, but also in the flip side, maybe a breath of fresh air. But I still remember when I went there, I wanted to dance because I was so into dancing as well. I'll just rock up to like just dance studios. I'd be like, can I just dance with you guys? And they'll just be like, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
There's a system to it.
There's a system.
Yeah. And you know, in Korea, we have hierarchy systems. So the elders would be just on top of the youngers. So like there's the whole hierarchy.
You have to earn
your spot
every way up.
Yes.
Through time and effort and all the things.
Through time and effort. Right. And those years and those numbers are not kind. I'm telling you. Like 5 years making coffee.
No matter how good you are.
No matter how good
you are.
So
if you walk in the door and you're better than all these people naturally, and you've worked from Australia, you come and I've already put in the time, put in the effort. I've achieved my own mastery of this thing, dance or whatever else it is. And I walk into an environment where everybody else has seniority. I'm not actually going to get credit for the work I did back there. I have to start over.
You have to start over. And
it doesn't make sense.
You have to be silent.
Okay.
Because if you do be a bit loud about it, most likely you're going to be the most hated, you know. So and
just stick out.
And your living conditions are just going to be so hell after that. So it was a very eye-opening moment. It's also humbling, but especially during that period of time. I don't know what it's like now, but back then it was very, very to the point where you had to go through a process, a system, you know, stages, and you know, seeing that, I didn't really like it, to be honest, because I thought, you know, if you were good and if you had that talent and if you had that voice, I thought it should be more empowering. People should more empower people like that. But the whole idea of like free ideas and free speech of doing what you want was censored to a certain extent, because not by force, but
it was a general way.
It's a general way
of living.
Exactly.
I would say, no, I don't want to cut you off.
No.
But as you go, I like to unpack things.
Yes, please.
Wouldn't you say that the great art and culture that's coming out of Korea right now, wouldn't you say that it was born out of that, and that there's always going to be a response? The natural way things work is things evolve.
Yes.
And with each generation, we question how they did before.
Actually, you're right.
The thing I think we have to look at is what is good about that, and then what can we test. Because that's our job. Is to pressure test everything that's put before us, and the walls that don't break are actually walls that work. And the walls we break through are actually shortcuts to a better way. Right. And there is some natural order of like people and society and of like the human group evolving together and finding better ways, right? Like new things in medicine get denied for a long time until everybody actually sees like, oh, this is working. People are living longer.
Right.
Going back to art though, it's undeniable that Korea has a real influence on the world. Today, where 20 years ago you might argue it wasn't as big an influence.
Right.
So there's this like cultural, artistic revolution or trend of people expressing themselves.
You're right.
Because real art is people connecting over an idea that we agree on or that strikes us, that makes us feel something that we need to feel.
Yes.
So whatever you had to go through coming from a foreign place to a place that you had always probably dreamed about, I wonder what it's like being Korean. And then coming home and coming into an environment that challenged you.
I think that broke my barriers for sure. I think you're right.
And you didn't quit.
No, I didn't.
I would say that's the most important part.
Yeah, actually.
A loving parent challenges you, right? So in some way, that environment, as hard as it was, as judgmental as you might have felt, also raised you to be resilient. And test it again and try again. Because I would say you're sitting here because of it.
Yes, you're spot on. Yeah, absolutely spot on. You're spot on. It's a thought that I always come back to. You're right.
I feel that.
Yeah, you're exactly spot on, man. It's a thought that I always come back to. It's like, man, after all of that, would I ever want to go back through that again?
Well, no.
But then had I not, you're right. Had I not, would I have the same trail of thought, or would I still be the same person as I am today? And if I look at who I am today, am I like happy with it? And I am.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant that you bring that up because, your experiences really do make who you are.
If it doesn't kill you.
If it doesn't kill you, thank God.
But like that's a real thing. It's like the natural test.
Yeah, it is a natural test.
How high can I climb?
Exactly.
If I fall, that was as high as I could climb.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
If I lose my footing, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if I keep trying,
it kind of breaks barriers. Yeah.
And I sit here with someone that I see as very experienced. It's not just music. You have like for success in life, it's not just music.
Oh yes.
We have scars.
Yes.
You're wearing a lot of scars.
Yes.
Right? You get tattoos to remember something.
That is correct.
Because it hit you some way, or you're holding on to it, or you're hoping for it, whatever it is. But these are scars. We're covered in them.
Yeah.
And that's like a life well lived is experience.
It's an experience, yeah.
And you're sitting here as a young guy who's experienced as much as an old guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
It is hard. I appreciated that, man. I appreciated it. Yeah, I think especially going back to the tattoo thing, you're right. I do log it as if it's like a diary entry, you know.
I can see.
Yeah, it brings you back to that certain time, that certain moment.
Yeah.
And I still remember how I felt. Because I usually get tattoos just based on certain high and the extreme low moments I had, you know?
Me too. Same. Highs and lows.
Perfect.
Highs and lows. Always.
Always. And I think that's what would compel you to do it, you know? Like that would be the one thing to compel you to do something like that. And I honestly look back at a lot of these moments, and especially the tattoos, and I'm like, man, I have lived quite a fruitful life, you know, and I still have many years to go, of course, but I do always say I have to always be grateful for it, for sure, you know. And like you said, it could have been worse. I think it always could have been worse for everyone, you know. Korea was definitely one place that taught me a lot of resilience, as you mentioned. Had I not, I think I would have been way more naive, way more clueless, and a little less deeper than what I would be, you know. And I think it's so funny because it ties into the heavy metal and the rock music that I so passionately loved. I think that's also like one essence that kind of kept me like sticking through all those hard times, especially in Korea, because I went through the whole idol process as well.
Yeah, and how was that?
Oh boy, when I tell you my world was flipped around, it was flipped around because I went into the K-pop scene. I went from metal to K-pop.
Right.
So it was just like well, for one, I went into it because I wanted to hit a target audience just so I can start creating my own movement, which would later be DPR. But initially it was just, I thought if you became a K-pop idol, like you just immediately gained some type of like attention, you immediately gained some type of crowd. And I wanted to use that crowd to fuel what I wanted to do independently later, you know. So it was a shortcut in terms of thinking.
Actually, though, again, like I just like to comment as you go, because I find it really interesting.
Please, yes.
I think a young guy who's aiming up and goes, how do I get to the mountain? This is my vision.
Yeah.
DPR Ian, right? Even if you saw that back then.
Yes.
And you're going like, what's my route here?
Yeah, yeah.
You're always going to try to get somewhere as quickly as possible, which is smart. It's survival. Right. Another experience, though, that I think like you wouldn't be here if you hadn't done that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like what's interesting about like effort. We think we want a certain result now.
Right.
When I go, that's what I'm going to do. And the result is going to be this. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be whatever, rich, famous, this, that, whatever at the time we think we need, right? So we put forth the effort in the idea and the strategy we run, and it's honest.
Yes.
Want to succeed is honest.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we, on the other side of it, we may not get a result we wanted, but we don't understand at the time that's the result we needed to get to where we actually should be.
Yeah.
And however long it takes is how long it takes, because there's an organic side to like natural growth.
Yeah. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
To be the artist you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're an artist.
Yeah.
But if you were just a copy and paste.
Yeah. True.
That's a different road.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not as winding.
Right. Interesting. Would you ever say for you yourself personally that, you know how you kind of always seek and you always chase and there's a limit?
Always.
You don't think that's ever ended for you?
Never ending.
Interesting.
I don't know a life that's worth living if you're not
chasing.
Seeking. Being called.
Right, right.
Like this show is a calling.
Yeah, yeah.
I started it not knowing why. I was like, I don't even know who's going to talk to me.
Yeah.
But I felt compelled.
Wow.
To like have, because these conversations, we have them backstage at if we meet each other for the first time at a dinner, or we're at a party,
right,
or we're at a friend's house, like, you know, entertainment, music, art, we mix it up. So we're talking to like all kinds of artists.
Right.
And everybody has like a unique perspective of the journey of becoming a real artist.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people out there that they have talent. Or inspiration, but they don't have whatever it was that pushed you out.
Yeah.
That you said, I'm going to do this.
Right. I'm
going to be me.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the story. It's like the hero journey.
It is.
To be yourself.
Yes. You're right. That's crazy. I love it. I love what you're saying, man. It just aligns with
That's
everything.
why I like you so much. Because I think you stand out.
Oh, thank you, man.
I was excited to talk to you because I was like, yeah, I love meeting artists and hearing the journey, because everyone that likes you, all your fans, they need to hear it so that they can do it.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Whether it's going to college or starting a business or health, they need to have the confidence to go forward and to aim up.
Yeah.
And that's the overarching theme is you weren't aiming down.
No.
And you're not still. I see your art. You're reaching more. I want more. I want bigger.
Yeah.
It's funny because the metal is somewhere in the DNA of what you do, and it comes out everywhere.
Nice. Yeah.
And I can feel it as a heavy music fan.
Damn,
like there's always going to be a dark sadness to life.
Yes.
So pain and suffering for all of us.
Yes.
None of us get away from it.
Right.
The artists who sing and acknowledge the pain, they help people, because a lot of people want to just dismiss and escape from pain.
That's true. That's true.
But artists, sometimes we sit in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we paint.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's interesting.
I think it's important.
I agree with everything you say, man. It's crazy. I think I was in that moment of space where I was trying to find, I think some type of ground as well, you know, because I think more times than not, I sometimes feel like I'm not grounded because I think I've lived a life where I've always had to uproot myself and, you know, constantly move. And I'm sure it must have been a hell of a lot of like that for you as well. But
yeah, we're all a bit travelers, all a bit wanderers.
Yeah. And you know, like I think like you mentioned, I think in the beginning I was, I kind of made music, right? I kind of had to express myself really out there because I needed to say something, you know, because I needed to also dismiss like something that I felt, and, you know, going on with this certain disorder I had, and it was just something that I needed to really get out to the world.
Was it like a mental health?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I had, I have bipolar, and then the whole bipolar thing was like such a curveball, especially when it hit me in middle school.
Yeah, it's tough.
It was, you know, because that's why I only know extreme highs and lows. But for me, it was just, I've lived really relatively well with it throughout my whole life until I started facing like those big moments where it tipped my world upside down, and you know, people saying no, and you know, for the first time I was like, I felt like I had no control of what I was doing, and you know, everything just felt like it was aligned, and then it just got disrupted. So I think it was I needed to exert a lot of that frustration, that force, everything that was just packing inside, you know, it was just about to blow up.
Yeah, it's like a therapeutic exercise that you've discovered almost naturally through living.
Through living, and then through art, you know, and then in the beginning I was like, okay, so I might do this for myself. And
well, you needed to.
Yeah, I needed to. Needed to. And as I progressively kept coming out with it, like the second album, I realized it wasn't for me anymore, you know. I realized it was for the people out there that kind of needed it for me. And it was another realization I had. I was like, okay, so this isn't just about me anymore.
No, it's imagine how many people out there are going through the experience of suffering something they can't control. They didn't ask to be
right.
None of us asked to be born. I've struggled at times with mental health around PTSD. Oh yeah, I had a very traumatic early childhood.
I see.
And then there's anxiety, and there's all that depression, things like that are all like symptomatic of when you suffer trauma. But for the longest period of time, I didn't even know. I just felt bad.
Oh wow.
And so you think, how long is someone going through the experience that you learned about yourself and then you started to take care of it? So it's a real thing.
Right.
How many people are still wandering through it?
Yeah.
And all they have is your music.
Right.
And then your music kind of helps them discover there's a way forward.
There's a way forward, yeah. There's a way to coexist with it, you know. I think it also, and it's like you mentioned, it kind of also helped me understand how to coexist with it just by putting it out there. I think initially though, I was very somewhat also skeptical about, for example, my whole artistry is based on the characters that I become when I go to these extreme lows and highs. But
that's dope.
Yeah,
by the way.
Do you like it? Oh,
it's fucking dope.
I appreciate it, man. But in a sense, by putting a name to it, for example, by calling out these characters and projecting a name into it, am I giving it too much power? Is in another sense? Am I giving it to the power that it unnecessarily doesn't need, you know? And I think in the beginning I was really skeptical of that, because I knew the route that I was going down. Had I once now put a name to these personas that I become,
these sides,
like, am I not bringing it to life now? Kind of like Frankenstein, you know? You are delving into like uncharted territories. You're creating a monster. You're going into gray area, and it was kind of like, oh man, I wonder what will become of me. And second of all, like, I wonder if it's going to worsen the situation of my disorder. But then I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. You know, you only live once. And it called. It absolutely, it was a calling, you know? Actually, one of the first demos I made was called The Calling because it's insane. Yeah.
Something to it.
Yeah, something to it.
I feel you as someone who's called to do things and he just goes and does it.
Yeah.
And you could look back on the K-pop experience. Yeah. You could criticize it.
Yeah.
And try to pick it apart as like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Was it good? Was it bad? I don't think we're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to let the acorn become the oak tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
The weather is the weather.
Yeah.
Right? The environment is the environment. And the animals that come and, you know, so I think if you keep listening to the calling of what you feel, the question is, why do you have so many fans? You have a lot of fans. Why do you have so many fans?
Interesting.
It's not how you dress. Certainly they like it.
Yeah.
We do have our own styles. We express ourselves and people agree, but it's something else. It's a connection around something.
Yeah, it's the energy.
Likely the experience you went through.
Interesting.
And you expressed your experience and you keep doing it through art.
Yeah.
The characters, the dance, the way things look, the storyline, all of it. It sums up this like experience we all go through.
Yeah.
And I think that's why music matters. You wouldn't have so many fans.
Yeah. I think it glued everything together, right? Like it brought everything into one piece. You're right. It's quite an interesting thing because you don't really think much of it when you're in the process, right? And then I think it's moments like when you're going on off stage and you're walking to the bus and then you have fans come up to you, and then I think it was just moments like that when you finally get to hear the words from the people that are supporting your stuff and you are changing lives for that matter. And I think hearing that was such a crazy experience because initially I didn't know what my artistry would project and what it would do. Obviously I had a certain idea of what I wanted it to do, but I think it was the first time hearing that experience that kind of made everything worth it. So the whole idea of like, I'm so reluctant to make this into a name and to project this into an actual character kind of all went away because it became worth it after that point. And I was like, okay, so this is why I'm doing it, so this is the real reason. And like you said, the calling, it's quite a fascinating term that I think I'm more recently into this thing. And because I have a friend who's really religious and he would always say like it really does identify as the calling. It'll be a term that people would use biblically as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I now kind of come to a point where I'm like, I have to treat myself like the messenger. I gotta find something I gotta see the value bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I started to finally be able to let go of all the spite, the anger, kind of understand what it means to give without wanting to feel like you need anything back.
Right.
And I think from that point on, everything became a lot more clarified.
Yeah.
And that's only just recently happened, to be honest, and I feel way more light and hearing your words even now, I think it couldn't have come at a better time,
That's great.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, man. I really do.
I appreciate it. I think a lot of times our first idea is our best idea. And we'll talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
One too many.
I think that you have a really interesting perspective. And I think that that's really valuable.
Thank you.
And I think if you continue to be yourself and you just resist the fear of the rules, that you'll continue to grow. And yeah, certainly in music, however you want to measure the metrics of success of music, right? That's one thing.
Right.
But then there's also just the journey of like the person who's an artist, who's making art and sharing with the world their perspective and their experience coming from how you grew up, growing and dealing with bipolar, dealing with these things that everyone's dealing with.
Yeah.
We're just not all allowed to really talk about it in such a way.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's important to create things that capture people's imaginations because they live with it every day.
You're right.
That's why they want to come meet you after the show, because this is their only chance to tell you what this has meant to me the last year or two or however long. And I think that's important.
That is important,
And you don't always get to talk to them.
Right, you don't get to, exactly,
But the fact that it struck them like that it says it all. But so what do you think,
mind-blowing.
What do you like the future for you from right now as you look out at the next chapter? What does that look like?
I think for the longest time, it was just all about going, like, just point A to point B. And it wasn't even like, okay, like I'm just kind of in the hopes that it would happen. I just kind of, in my mind, I always think it's going to happen, you know? So I'm sure you know this
I'm
too.
the same.
Yeah. I feel like you would be exactly
everything I do in life.
Yeah. Like you just know. So then I realized more times than not, I was becoming less excited about it.
Right.
You know, because it wasn't really the process that I was enjoying. It was the process just, I felt like, tagged along and came with it. So I think more times now I'm trying to be a little bit more present, you know, in everything that I do. So, because, you know, every second that passes doesn't really come back. And for me, I think that's the beauty in it. And I want to be a lot more present in the things that I do, meaning I want to savor in a lot of these moments. Like even just talking with you right now, it's just, for me, it's magical right now.
That's
like
dope.
You just I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy right now. So that's just the one thing that I kind of wanted to hold on to going into the future for one. And ever since I really started trying to do that, I think I started having more excitement in not just work, like, because I think I was just too much of a workaholic, where I just always will put that priority, you know, which is why I've always had like a tough love life, and you know, because
you've struggled to have
I've struggled so much
long-term relationships because of the time and effort it takes and investment.
And then the values. Like I know I love somebody, right? I know I want a good relationship, but I don't know if it was me just being too ambitious with what I wanted to do and what I thought I needed in terms of what environment it had to be, what it had to be in a certain way for me to go faster.
Right.
So it was really just about pushing the process faster or better, you know.
So you hope to have a relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's good.
Yeah, like, you know, family.
Yeah.
My values have changed in a way where I do want a family, and I just want to be sitting at the dinner table with my team, just be looking at our stuff that we've done, and, you know, just having a good laugh and conversation about it, you know.
Yeah.
Just bringing friends and family together. That's one of my core values now, to be honest. And
that happens with age.
That does.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm getting older.
No, I think there's age and experience, right?
Yeah.
So it could happen at a different age for everyone based on their experience. I think you have a lot of experience.
Oh, right.
I think you've probably given some relationships a go.
Yes.
And and you get experience. There's a time.
Yes.
There is a time for work.
Yes. Actually,
and this is a young man's game. Right? So they say make hay when the sun shines.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, and you should try.
Yes.
And you likely will have success in the right relationship.
Right.
When you find a person who understands but also cares more about you than that.
Interesting. Yeah.
It finds its way. If you just recognize that you want it.
Right.
Because my wife, who's also an entertainer, we found each other at a specific time
where it was the right moment.
We loved each other enough to work through all the difficulties of what that meant in those early stages. And then we got older.
Right.
We had kids.
Yeah.
And we have a family. We've been together a long time.
Right.
But it was a real natural process of give and take.
I see. Would you say when you found her, though, you were in that moment of wanting to find someone like that? Or it was just, or it wasn't like that, just came out of the blue?
I think I always wanted it.
You always wanted it.
But I didn't know if it was possible. Because I came from a broken family where a successful marriage is impossible. So life had told me that doesn't really work out. And so my predisposed position on that was, my stance on it was, that doesn't really work out.
Yeah.
But I knew deep down that all I really wanted was a safe place with a family and stability.
Yeah.
And then I met this amazing person.
So cool.
And we became friends. Wow. And it was romantic from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I liked her more. It's weird. I liked her more than I loved her at first.
I see. Interesting.
And then it grew.
Yeah.
And of course, I love her and I like her. But it took time, man. It took life experience. Right. It was not always smooth.
Interesting.
Because my life was chaotic.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You have a lot of people to answer to. You have all these fans. You have art you still want to make. Things you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
It's finding someone who also has that for themselves.
Right.
In their own life, whatever that is.
Right.
Doesn't mean they have to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
But their own dreams.
Right.
And they kind of almost have to feel like they could grow together over time.
Interesting.
And they have to want you to live your best life and you have to want them to live their best life. Wow. And then somewhere you just keep growing together.
Oh, wow. So weird. That's quite interesting. So she's kind of changed your perception of that. She completely
changed my life.
Changed your life. I love that.
She's why I got into therapy.
Yeah.
Because she liked me, but she was like, I think you have some, she's like, I think you're depressed. I was like, I'm not depressed, you're depressed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, she's like, no, I'm not being mean. I'm saying like, I love you. I want you to like get the best out of yourself. And to her, the value of me was not my platinum records or the thing, the Good Charlotte thing. She liked it. Wow. She loved it. But that wasn't why she liked me.
Wow.
And then she was like encouraging me to take care of myself.
Right.
I wasn't taking care of myself. I was probably drinking too much. I was dealing with everything the wrong way.
Right.
And she was like, I'm not judging you, but I want you to like reach for better.
Right. And you listened to it.
And I listened to it.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
And then it did change my life.
Wow.
I'd say like taking care of my personal growth.
That's so cool.
Was just as important as my career growth.
That's inspirational, man. That really is. That's really inspirational.
You know, I think you get to live life once.
Yeah.
And you only get to be you.
That's true. That's true. Only once. Yeah.
Which is what I see you doing.
Yeah.
You're being you.
Yes.
And what's that mean? Well, we'll find out. You got to reach.
You got to reach, yeah.
And you got to try.
You got to keep going.
It doesn't mean that everything we try, we look back on and we go, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
But we also can't hate it because somewhere in us is a kid who believes things are possible and isn't afraid to try. And the older we get, the more we listen to everyone else.
Yeah.
The cooler we get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't show you a picture of me like a school picture and go, this is the version of me I want you. Like I'm dressed how I want to dress now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know about shit I didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's a part of me. But actually the kid who had the imagination is still the same kid that's drawing up.
Right.
You know, when you look at your stage and you look at these elaborate things, that same kid is still dreaming that up.
Yeah.
So you have to bring them along somehow.
Yeah.
And like, protect them a little bit.
It's so interesting that you say that. I've always tried to find that kid that I used to be when I was that age. I think it was a moment where I was like, okay, I feel like I've lost that kid at a certain point. I think that was during my K-pop era. But then it was just that need for wanting to bring that version of me back to life, because I knew how I was like back then. You know, no boundaries, no limits, just literally what I wanted to draw and what I wanted to paint. And I didn't know there was so much value in that until I felt like it was missing, you know. So
well, the world tells us it's not valuable.
Exactly. And that's why it was be yourself, be you. That was also actually one of my mottos, and it was something that I kind of heavily am still trying to learn even to this day, you know. And
it's lifelong.
It's perpetual. Do
you think that part of you is on board? Because there's also the idea that like we do sometimes do things that part of us, we deny it, and it's not all the way on board, and maybe we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing. Now we go through an experience and there's value to every experience, but like we get back to where we feel that part of us is fully integrated and like participating. And that's kind of like, for me, the goal is to keep the childlike curiosity, the creativity, as corny as other people might go, like, you know, it might sound corny, but I actually think that's the superpower.
You're right, man. That's crazy. Wow. It's insane. It's insane. That's amazing, man.
It's a good part.
It's the superpower part that I also think it is a big part. And it's also, which is why I've always tried to climb back into that mode. And I think we naturally become like that when we get creative, right? Like it doesn't become like all of a sudden like outside talk or outside opinions and everything that kind of barrages you and changes your perception of everything. It just solemnly comes from you and what you want to do. And I've always said like you should never apologize for that. And that's what I try to tell my fans as well, because you are you, and that's why you're unique, and that's why you're special. So why would you ever want to change if And why would you ever need to, for something or somebody else? Man, yeah, I appreciate everything you say, man, because it's like it really does align with everything that I've been going through and I've been kind of thinking about, and the state where I'm in, just hearing from a veteran from you, like you, I think it does help me put everything in order a lot, I certainly have a long way to go, but I think it's very inspirational, You've definitely you're so insightful, your mind. It's so amazing how your mind works.
I just feel very compelled to encourage artists to be the best version of themselves.
Right.
This is a tough career choice.
It is, yeah.
You could also just be making music in your garage if you wanted to.
Yeah,
and just enjoying your little songs. Mm-hmm. But you didn't choose to do that. Yeah. You chose to go out and show yourself and what you could do, but also like inspire people. And that's an important thing you're doing, not just the music. If I ever get the chance to sit with anyone, I don't want to waste words.
Yeah, no.
If I can give them any insight I've learned over 45 years, because I'm 45, I've had my different chapters of my career, and I think I'm in the best chapter.
Right.
It's a different version.
Interesting.
It's a different kind. I don't tour year round.
Right.
Good Charlotte's making a record right now, but we haven't made a record in 7 years.
Exciting.
And we might not make another record for 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm in a different place.
Yeah.
And if I could give you something to take with you to make your trip easier, to help you enjoy it more, and to get you somewhere faster, then I'm going to, because that's what we're supposed to do. I also just think I only have people on this show that I'm interested in, because I think they're interesting.
I appreciate
it. And they're doing something cool.
Yeah.
And I want to like see behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And see like what's going on. And I can really see why you're successful. I can see why you have so many fans. I can see why you're successful. And if anything, I want to encourage you to keep doubling down on that.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So that you
noted
reach the height you want to reach.
Yeah.
Because there's no limit to, I think, what we can do with art.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And you never know who you're touching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really interesting, man. Would you say like where you are at now was somewhere you would have been, or you could have imagined you would have been when you were in your 30s, like just mentally?
I could have only hoped.
Yeah.
I think my 20s was spent succeeding.
I see.
And it all felt like it was a dream.
A dream. Oh, okay. So you don't really kind of process that?
It was hard to process in real time.
I bet it was.
And I had to unpack it in my 30s.
Oh, okay.
And it made me better. When I realized like it wasn't a lottery. I worked really hard.
Yeah.
I have some value. There's something about me that's special.
I see.
I had to like actually hold that.
I see.
Because I think coming from poverty, I went into success feeling like someone gave it to me.
I see.
Instead of that I imagined and worked hard. And in my 20s, we had, all these hit records, this, that, went on the ride. And by 30, I had just been working for 12, 13 years nonstop. And I had met my wife, and I was like, I could feel the next chapter. I was trying to make sense of all of it.
I see.
And so I had to like start making room for myself to take care of myself.
I see.
Started going to therapy.
So that's kind of when that all started.
Yeah, and I started growing in a different way.
I see.
But the success was, I'm not labeling it as bad. I grew in other ways.
Yeah.
And I think we always have to just keep looking at where we're not growing, and if we can, it's a process, and
wow.
But to think at 45 I would be married, I have 2 teenagers.
Yeah.
I have a home life that I love, that feels very stable, which I never had.
Right.
I aimed at it, and I tried. Wasn't perfect along the way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we want to get out of the moving car.
Yeah. All right. We're
like, oh, this is freaking me out. I'm more comfortable in chaos.
Yeah.
Pain.
Exactly. More comfortable in discomfort. Yeah.
And for a long time, I believed the lie that I had to be unhappy to make good art or to do good things. That's not true.
It's not true, is it?
You have to be yourself to make good art.
Damn.
And
yeah, I love that.
And do good things that you want to do. So if you're living a life that's not actually yours, you're not going to be connected to it.
Yeah.
But the more and more you dig in on who am I?
Yeah.
What do I want to say? And if you're patient and you listen, it'll come to you. Likely not as long, it won't take as long as you think when you can tune in. But I do think that like we have to go on our own journey to find out what it means to be us.
Yeah.
To believe what we believe.
Yeah.
And then decide who we listen to and why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to feel it.
Yeah. I think feeling it for sure.
But that's led you on your whole...
The whole journey, yeah. The gut, you know, something about it, you know, just like you said, the calling. It definitely does strike something in me. Especially with everything you're saying. I think it's definitely very enlightening for me, because I think one of the thoughts I've always had was, I feel like my 20s was quite it was a bit chaotic, so I couldn't process it. And now that I'm in my 30s, I'm still trying to process it, but for some reason I'm in a more better place for me to allow myself to kind of unravel it. But I've always wanted, like, kind of what I think your life is right now. You know how you have kids, you're at a better place, stabilized, grounded. You have family. You know, you got your work, career. It's everything kind of is starting to align. And I've always imagined, like, I've always wondered if it would happen like that, if it would naturally, because I wanted it, I want that so bad. But there's also a notion in me where, because I've never really experienced it, or I've never really felt that. I didn't know how possible it would be, you know, because like you said before, I think I was more prone on the idea of things not working out in terms of relationships. Like, just things like can work out to a certain extent, but I don't know anything beyond that. Like, I don't know if it would, I don't know what that would look like. You know what I mean? Like, especially with just knowing me. Yeah. You know,
none of us do.
So I guess it's just like something to...
I think you're doing it.
Oh, yeah?
I think you're looking towards it.
Yeah.
And it'll appear.
And it'll appear.
You know, like, you won't find something if you're not looking for it.
No, you're right.
And it's not in your mind as like, oh, this will happen.
Yeah.
And I think it'll unfold if you stay true. Just stay true to yourself. Take care of what you're, you know, I think you're doing important things.
Yeah.
You got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it'll unfold. I think you're inviting it in. You'll become more and more inclined to look for people that are inclined to that as well.
Yeah.
So I think you're on the path, exactly where I was, probably at your age.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
Sick. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you, man. You're
the man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, bro. Thanks, brother.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Artist Friendly. If you really liked it, you can follow, like, subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.